Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter podcast. Today, I'm joined with my co-host, Colleen Mock, and if you hear a lot of chewing in the background, that's because our dog, Nani, is eating what?
A hoof.
A hoof. I don't even know what we feed her these days.
It's a beef hoof.
Beef hoof. But my name is Sam Breiter, and today we are going to have a very special episode, a different topic than the standard running coaching tips and advice that we do, as well as sharing like our personal fitness journey. We're going to talk about a topic that is a big part of my upbringing and sort of entrepreneurial background, which is the topic of memorabilia, sports memorabilia specifically, and we're going to be diving into why I am personally investing in the sport of track and field, the sport of running, and supporting athletes that are out there doing great things, but why I do believe there is a really exciting financial opportunity. Let's note I'm not a financial advisor. I'm also not from the future, so I'm not telling anyone that you need to go and spend your hard-earned money on Noah Lyle's autographed photo. We're just going to share like what I have been seeing in the space and like why I'm doing it, and you can take my actions into perspective when you're thinking of if this is something you would like to do as well. And I know, Colleen, this topic is pretty foreign to you, so our plan here today is she'll be asking me some questions. She'll be learning a thing or two, I'm sure. Hopefully the audience will be learning as well. So yeah, we'll jump right into it.
So Sam, I know that memorabilia has been a big passion of yours. Can you tell myself and the audience, what got you into sports memorabilia?
Yeah, for sure. So it started at a young age. I was probably like 8 or 9. And before running was even something that I would do besides running bases, essentially, because I was a big baseball player at the time. Baseball was really my biggest passion. I knew all the players, I knew all the stats. I was playing the sport competitively and had a passion to be a center fielder for the New York Mets when I grew up. Obviously, that career path didn't work out well for me. But I started investing into cards and signed photos and different areas. Like instead of asking for X for my birthday, it was always a new pack of cards or like an eBay gift card, for example, so I could buy stuff. And, I think a lot of my peers thought I was like crazy, like, oh, like, why are you wasting your money on that? But I always knew like, it's not because I need this awesome photo on my wall to impress people. No, it was more because, one, I was just passionate about the sport, and for me, it brought me happiness. But two, I did believe that the sport would continue to grow. People were going to be more idolized by these athletes over time as technology continued to improve. And then as a result, you would have more people interested in buying, more demand. More demand obviously equals higher values. Now, more supply definitely made the sports memorabilia industry go up and down in value over the last decade plus. But now it's at a point where the companies that are coming out with these products know how to really balance how much supply they should be coming out with to ensure the value of these items continue to grow. So there's a lot more of like a strategic focus by the manufacturers. But yeah, I mean, that's how I really got into it and like how I'm looking at it now. But I was able to very much so profit through the years off of the memorabilia. At a young age, I was like buying and flipping, and then I had like a big collection that I was able to bulk up. And now, the last couple of years, I've been mostly selling everything off and like enjoying the profits, right? And I think mostly like baseball, I don't know if that sport is going to continue being the future. And so that's why I'm kind of stepping back. But I do think track and field is very much a untapped market that has a lot of potential.
Okay. Now, when it comes to track and field memorabilia, some people might be a little confused thinking that there might be like a baseball card equivalent to track and field. So can you tell us a little bit more about like track and field specific memorabilia?
What do you mean by that?
So like, sometimes the memorabilia for track and field might look, instead of having trading cards, like having signed medals or tickets to different events. So could you give some examples?
Oh, you're saying
how that looks different?
The different options. Yeah, and I think, in every sport there is a variety of different items that you can invest in. There's game used items that you can get either in the form of a card or on a poster, or you could actually get like the specific item, right? Like someone's game used jersey or uniform in the space of track and field. There's medals that are replica medals that are becoming popular that often, a collector might want an athlete to sign, or that there's just collecting the replica because, hey, that's cool. Like everything can have a value. It's really the value is what someone's willing to pay for it at the end of the day. What I'm interested in investing in is athletes that I believe have already made a mark on the sport, and I think they will continue doing it in a clean way where their name, their legacy is either going to be stable or increase over the next couple of years. And I would say, like in the form of trading cards, there are not a lot of track and field trading card supply is very low. Like there's plenty of track and field athletes that you might be a fan of who have never had a card come out, period. And then there's certain ones that you'd be surprised. Like Jesse Owens, huge name, famous in the sport, ran in the 1930s. He's actually got a lot of trading cards, believe it or not. And that's surprising because at that time, it's just like the sports memorabilia game wasn't what it is now. Noah Lyles, on the other hand, he doesn't have a lot. I don't think there's a single signed Noah Lyles trading card that exists, which is ironic because he puts a Yu-Gi-Oh card in his uniform.
I was just saying, I was like, he's one of the biggest fans of like collector's items.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of athletes are fans of collector's items. So do you think that makes it harder to try and enter the market knowing that maybe like other athletes are even trying to kind of get their own hands on?
You're saying like competing against an athlete for their own stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like a good thing at the end of the day because when athletes show that they're passionate for the memorabilia, it raises the overall enthusiasm of the fan. For example, like in football, Tom Brady has been doing a lot of really great things with Fanatics, which is a company that had recently purchased Topps in the last couple of years, and they have been a critical piece of helping Topps grow. And like Usain Bolt came out with his first autograph card through Topps not too long ago, and those are going for a lot of money on eBay. But having these athletes endorse them, showing that they're buying the product, or like other celebrities, athletes buying other athletes' products, that's like the best way for the values to go up and more people to be aware and excited and everything like that. So I encourage that for sure.
Yeah, because it makes me think of like NFL players will sometimes swap jerseys and like they'll swap and sign with one another at the end of games, and so it's like they're just like 1-for-1 trading.
Yeah. But to also, and I hate to cut you off, but you had asked me like what sorts of products. So cards, yes, that's a big part of it. And for me, like the cards that I'm specifically interested in are cards that are limited in value. So there's specifically cards that have a serial number. Let's say there's 99 in the world because it is a specific refractor or shiny type of card. You see those often. But I really want like autographs on those cards because I know autographs are harder to get as well. And then I would like the card to either be in a condition and a value where I can go get it graded myself, which for those who don't know, grading a card means having the overall condition assessed. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. 10 is like, hey, we're in near mint condition here. And so I would really only invest in something 8 to 10 unless it's like a very old card where anything 5 and above is very hard to get. But I would say like cards is probably just like a small portion of what I'm interested in investing in. Getting items that are medals that are signed would be something that really excites me because I have this plan to like flip a lot of things by the 2028 Olympics. There's certain windows of times where as a seller, I think it is more beneficial to cash in. This is unfortunate to say, but when an athlete dies, there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of news about that athlete. If you want to fully maximize profits and an athlete dies, you have a piece of their sports memorabilia, the value will go up. It's not necessarily, in my opinion, ethical to like time that, but like that is like a legitimate way that has been proven to make a lot of money in this sort of hobby investing strategy. What I'm interested in now, it's something that I think is more predictable, is like timing it based on the Olympics. So investing in a lot of memorabilia in track and field, athletes that I think are going to compete in 2028 in Los Angeles, who I think are going to do well there, and then perhaps trying to time it and selling it during the Olympics or directly after it, after those athletes start racking up those medals, right? You know, at the end of the day, that you have to predict. So, but I would say the cards, autographed medals, autographed photos, I'm interested for the right ones. If it's like a photo that I don't think is a good photo of an athlete that I don't think can sell, like I wouldn't really be interested in that. So it has to, like, to me, all like be very high quality. And the thing that you do need to be careful about as well is that you're not getting anything that is fake. There's a lot of fakes out there. So you'd want to consider that. And so you want to make sure that it's authenticated by a reputable company. Either PSA as well as Beckett are really the two main companies that you want to trust. That's why a lot of people like cards, though, because it's very rare to see like a fake card out there. So, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on like, so like, you know, whenever I was perusing the NBA store, they
Ferguson.
they had like, you could buy directly from the NBA site, like signed cards and signed photographs and signed jerseys and stuff like that. And I was like, I was looking at it and I'm like, well, you know, one, these are a little out of my price range, but two, like, what, like, does this kind of negate some of that, like, oh, it's limited sort of feel if you can just like go online and order it from like a mainstream store?
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that if you go into like a mainstream store, often the price is a lot more than you would find on a site like eBay or whatnot is, you know, big and up and coming in the streaming auction selling world. You know, because those sites specifically have a lot more credibility and they just hold a brand of legitimacy, everything being 100% authentic. They double, triple check everything. And they get a lot of people to their site, right? So they have the ability to upcharge. Compared to eBay, it's like the little guys trying to sell. And most people on eBay, good people, trying to like make a quick buck the right way. And so that's why, again, you want to make sure it's authenticated, but you can get a much better deal on a site like an eBay or just like any sort of like auction site or going to like a sports card show as well. But again, like track and field, it is nowhere near the level of popularity that football, basketball, baseball, even like a hockey or soccer is. And so it's a lot harder to find these items. But I view that as an opportunity. If there is limited inventory right now, the inventory that does exist right now is only going to be worth more when I do think the sport naturally grows. Reality of it is, when you look at like those other sports that I named, why is there so much more memorabilia out there? Well, it all started from the fact that more people were competing in those sports. It then entered more people were watching those sports, because if you compete in a sport, you have a higher likelihood of wanting to watch that sport. And then after that, you want to collect in the sport and give back to the sport, attend the games, do whatever. And I think track and field is kind of going through that same sort of evolution here where we started off as a sport where like people were kind of participating and kind of watching. Now we're seeing a lot more people run, a lot more people being healthier. And in turn, more people are interested in watching running. I mean, the 2024 Olympics, you could look at those numbers. I think it was like on average 30 to 50% increases in viewership compared to the 2020 or 2019 Olympics, that is, due to COVID and even the prior Olympics. So the sport is growing a lot, but you don't see the memorabilia increasing at nearly as much of a rapid pace. And so, again, that's just why I think there's this untapped opportunity here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, thinking about some of the like ways that track and field has been broadcast, it seems like they've been trying to improve that as well, which would then naturally make it easier for viewers to check in. But then it's also like something that I think about is that a lot of times sports have like very long-standing rivalries.
Yeah.
And that's easier to keep track of whenever there's just like a finite number of teams,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I'm from Midwest. It's like I know the St. Louis Cardinals and like the Chicago Cubs are long-standing like rivals, right? And like you don't have to know every single player on each team to know that there's a rivalry that exists. But with track and field, it is like a little bit hard because the players are always shifting and people will do different events. Some people will do, multiple events. Some people will only do certain ones. Some people shift into different things. And so it can be, I think, a little bit harder too to keep track of like the rivalries.
Well, I don't even think it's even just rivalries. It's just like having a sort of nationalist stake within these athletes, right? Because I'm from New York. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Giants fan. I'm automatically connected to the incoming players that join the team. Jackson Darts, and the new quarterback for the Giants, automatically a fan of the guy as long as he's good, right? Like, I will consistently root for him, want him to be good. And he didn't do anything to earn that except simply be drafted by my team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at track and field, how does someone get to a point where you become a fan of them?
Right.
It's different. It's success. It's like liking their story. Maybe they went to a college that you liked, I guess, but like after college, it doesn't matter, right? You don't even know where these guys went to college, rarely.
I mean, they do have like national, like if you make the national teams though, right? Like you do have some level of camaraderie with some of the athletes if they make the U.S. Olympic team.
Yes, and for like the United States,
Yeah.
but there's just like so many. So I think like
Mm-hmm.
people more connect to like the ones who are earning medals, the ones who you're hearing about more, or even like the ones that are a little bit more bold, right? As long as you're bold in a way that you have a personality compared to like taking PEDs or like being involved with negative things off of the track, right? That's a very important piece of this because there is risk in investing in sport memorabilia outside of just track and field, right? Like the second an athlete gets caught for PEDs, value cut like 90%. The second that they get arrested for X, value cut 50%, maybe more, right? Like, and in track, I hate to say it, but we see these sorts of scandals and incidents very often. Very often.
And not even just like the return on investment and value cut, but just also being like, I was a big fan of this person, and like now, like I feel a certain type of way because I feel as though they cheated the system or whatever situation happened, and so not even just from like a value of the memorabilia standpoint, but just like it would just be hard to like own something that like I really like believed in this person.
Yeah, and like if I own memorabilia from an athlete who gets suspended for PEDs, like I'm like that item's gonna be sold eventually, or I'm gonna get rid of it because I don't want to hang it up. It'll sit in a drawer or whatever, maybe if I'm like waiting to see how the incident comes to fruition. But yeah, it's a risk for sure. You got to look into this person's values and just like get to know them a little bit. And I think that's the cool thing about the sport is you have a lot of different great personalities. There's so much content you can watch out there. Like the athletes who are broadcasting their journey on YouTube, I think are ones like we want to consider because you can see like how they're eating, how they're working out, what they're doing for their training. You can actually be almost like an analyst and follow along and see like what these people are doing. And if it feels like they're doing things the right way, they're treating people right, they are not going through some sort of crazy body evolution where they gain 35 pounds of muscle in a year, it's probably a sign that you're going to be okay, right? And so, like, there is like a little bit of homework and research that you can do that I think gives you a little bit of a better chance to predict the outcome.
So Sam, who do you kind of have your eyes on now? Who are you excited and looking to try and invest in?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there's a mix of two, right? So there's retired track and field runners that I believe brought a really good legacy to the sport, and their value naturally will only go up. So I haven't made any investments in like Jesse Owens or Usain Bolt,
Flojo.
or Flojo. But yeah, I mean that's a good one as well. Even like Mo Farah or Steve Prefontaine, there's a lot of just these super famous runners that are known by majority of people who participate in the sport who I want to eventually invest in. I think the thing is though, it's like having discipline to know what is worth putting a certain dollar amount into and what's not. And so I do a lot of research on like how these items have historically sold, and if I don't feel like I'm getting a decent deal or if I don't believe that there's going to be a ton of increase in value, I'm going to just wait and continue to research and look around for the right item, right? And so I would say like that is definitely like my mindset with some of the athletes of the past. I think the athletes of the present, it is athletes that are either going to stabilize with their career and I'm like happy with their current value, or someone who I think is like going to significantly increase in their performance and ability in the sport. You take someone like Quincy Wilson, he's young, he's got stuff online, it's pretty low in price, and so there's potential there, right? But like investing in him is a gamble. Like theoretically he earned a medal, but he has never earned a medal for himself, and his accomplishments, don't make him a multi-$100 athlete. He goes and runs the 400 in the 2028 Olympics. He wins gold. Well, like everything changes. So there's a lot more risk in there, but I do think like the athletes who have actually proven themselves are the ones that I'm more interested in, just because of the fact that I think the value of your top tier athletes are going to only go up over time as the sport grows. So I try to not predict too much about like who I think is up and coming, who's going to be good, because I just think that the values are going up either way. And so I'd rather more invest in someone who's already built a resume of accomplishments and has impacted the sport. Not that Quincy Wilson hasn't. I'm just saying, like, has in big, massive ways impacted the sport.
Quincy Wilson also, he's a kid. Like, kids can change their minds on things, right? Maybe he is doing track and field. Maybe he decides he has to do something else. Probably not. Probably not.
I'd like to join the Checkers team.
Probably not. But whenever you're a kid, you don't always recognize like the importance of decisions that you make.
Well, there's risk of injury, and like he's starting to make money in different ways right now, and the sport is changing in that sense too, where when you were in college, you used to not be able to make money through the sport. Now you can. And so, like, it does change the ways that athletes, are approaching their career. If you are making hundreds of thousands of dollars running and you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you might not want to train your butt off like someone who was making minimum wage, bartending on the side while running and trying to chase a career in the sport. I'm not saying again that Chris Wilson's going to do that, but like the dynamics are shifting there.
Well, it could take away some of that motivation, right? Like not making assumptions, but like if a large part of why a lot of our very good athletes have trained as hard as they are is because they want to make a difference in their lives, and then their lives are changed at an earlier state, it might be hard for them to be like, I need to keep working in order to keep this up, because they might feel as though they continue to have certain agreements regardless of how they're performing, which may or may not be true. Like that could legitimately be like they could be set, but it's really just up to what they want to do and also what their value is going to be.
Yeah.
But it makes it more of a question of, if you're really just in it for money, you might get that money sooner. And so then it might make it harder to stay focused.
Yeah.
So why track and field and why not Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or, other collectibles that are, from my understanding, more popular and more common.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with investing in those sorts of collectibles. I mean, I used to collect Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger, and I still have a pretty big card collection of other sports that I'm mostly trying to sell transparently, but like I just see the growth being higher, and it's just something that like I'm excited and passionate about as a collector. I mean, the reality is the sports memorabilia industry, I saw a stat on this, from 2024 to 2034, in the next 10 years is projected to 9 to 10 times in value. I think it's at like
multiply 9 to 10 times.
Yeah. I don't fully quote me on this. I think the industry is worth like $23 billion right now, and it's going to go up to like $230 billion in the next 10 years. And a lot's going to change in it, right? Because there's more advanced technology coming forward. There's the metaverse, more gaming, online, interactive, virtual reality things that could come into play here that could certainly impact it, right? And so I think like in this process, like there's a lot of people who have and who will get burned and lose a lot of money in those collectibles. I think the difference with track and field is there is a little bit more, in my opinion, believe it or not, stability. Because again, we know who has been performing well now and who's going to continue their success. And I just think because of the fact that the sport is going to continue growing in popularity, the value is just going to naturally go up. I mean, Colleen, as crazy as it sounds, the first time the marathon was ran outside of like the time that it was ran in like 400 BC or whatever it was where that guy died, was in 1896, and it was in the Olympics. Like, this sport has not been around very long. The first time a woman got to compete in a marathon, I think, was like 50, 60 years ago. So we're talking like 120 years for men. We're talking 60 years for women in the long distance game. Now, sprinting, it has been around longer, but like my point here is like this sport has changed a lot in a short period of time. We're seeing people wearing crazy technology, wearables, and shoes that have just completely changed the sport. And we're seeing all these different recovery methods and just ways communities are gathering together. And we're just seeing running as such a positive part of the American lifestyle, the global lifestyle, these world major marathons. There's just a lot of great things happening. And so I think people are going to want to watch more. They're going to want to connect with other athletes, see what's going on professionally. And money is going to continue going into these avenues. And so, again, I just naturally think the value is going to go up. There is 100% risk. Again, the steroids, we could there could be some sort of crazy study that indicates running is the worst thing for you and that no one should run. I don't think that's going to happen. There's risks with any sort of investment. But I think at the end of the day, for me right now, like I'm enjoying it. It's fun. I try to like invest in a different item like every few months. It's more of like a reward to myself, and I'm like not considering it part of my net worth, right? And I don't have a ton of athletes that I have stuff. I have Cole Hocker, a signed photo, and a limited edition T-shirt by him. I've got a signed card by Gabby Thomas. You got me a Steve Prefontaine magazine. What is it?
Yeah, it's a very odd one. I mean, it's hard to get Steve Prefontaine things, but it's like the first time that he was featured in Sports Illustrated. So it's like the page that detailed like Steve Prefontaine for the first time that he was in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, exactly. I have a signed pair of shoes by Nick Simmons, that I actually got in person when I met him. And then I bought a Noah Lyles medal from Tokyo, replica medal, but I'm actually returning that because it came in poor condition. But that's the good thing about eBay. Like, they do protect the buyers, and so if something comes in and it's in poor condition, not as described, you can get your money back and whatnot. And so as an investor, as a buyer, you are protected on the right sites and with the right items. So just something to think about there. But I mean, I don't really have like a crazy collection of different things, but it's something that I'm excited about, and that like I'm like, a couple times a week monitoring what's out there, watching different items, getting into some bidding wars. I've lost a lot of bidding wars, but it's fun. It's like a very cool thing to be a part of, and then to just like have a little bit more of excitement when you see that athlete do something cool or accomplish, a new PR for themselves. It's just nice to have someone else to root for. I think we all love rooting for ourselves and our close friends, but these professionals, I mean, they're doing some incredible things. So it's a good time.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sam, for sharing all of this. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I would just say if you're someone that like is currently investing into the hobby and you want to like bounce ideas around, I'm always happy to like chat. Not a lot of people I know who invest into track and memorabilia. Love to see like different items people have. If you're selling things, always happy to like see what it is. We can negotiate as well. I'm not currently like selling any of the things that I have, but maybe one day that'll happen. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, just at the end of the day, I love this sport. I think it does a lot of great things for people, and if it gets you out there and running by watching someone, great. That's definitely kept me motivated through the years. Is watching others and then being like, oh, all right, I'll get these shoes on. This guy just ran a 2:05 marathon. I can hit my 3-mile easy run. Yeah, I just like being a fan and cheering them on, and hopefully I can make some money as a result of it down the line, or just have an awesome collection. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Colleen.
And as always, don't forget to run brighter.